Today on the Batcave Podcast with a special guest here. One of the only guests we've ever had return on the podcast so far.
Let's go.
Abstract.
Second time around.
Second time around.
Let's go.
Which we actually have to talk about because when you first did the podcast, you were the only person that had any sort of following. And I had like maybe 100 followers on Instagram when we did it. And
Let's go.
we also had a power outage and you stuck around and we reconnected and finished.
What year was that? I'm trying to...
That was 23. It was the beginning of 23.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right after No Hope for the Hopeless had come out.
Yep. Damn.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. And now we get to do one in person, which is awesome.
High time.
For people who don't know, can we get started just with how you first got into music and what the first start was for Abstract?
So I grew up around music a lot. My mom played the flute. She played piano. So growing up, she had me doing piano lessons like weekly. She would have a lady come over to the house. And just like that was it was also, I think, a way for her to like combat my ADD as a kid of like, we're going to make you sit down for like an hour and you're going to learn this. And also just enriching life skills,
Yeah.
So that was a big thing growing up. And even just growing up, my parents were always throwing on like oldies in the car. Like I grew up on classic rock. I grew up on the Beatles, the Who, Beach Boys, Bob Dylan. Like my dad, we would throw on, I don't remember the radio playing much as like a little kid. Like my dad was very proud of his CD collection. And so I was raised on very much like 70s, 60s. And then slowly like started to hear the radio throughout the house, and that kind of started to permeate, and I started to find my own bands and stuff that was adjacent to what my parents had shown me, whether that was like Green Day or Simple Plan or Blink-182 or Sum 41 or stuff like that, where it was a little harder, a little more like it had that edge of that age I was getting to at the time where I was like, this sounds like mine. So yeah, it was just being surrounded by music growing up, and also just my mom was very creative and exposed me to a lot of, I think she just helped my mind be molded into, because nowadays I have so many different things I'm in so many different bags. And I think it just came from her originally exposing me to all these different creative, like whether it was clay or painting or music, like I said, like she kind of opened up my world, I guess, growing up.
Yeah, you mentioned being invested in a lot of different things. There's a lot more to you as an artist than just making music. You really world building with what you're doing.
Trying to.
What kind of prompted your journey in your artist journey where you made the switch to wanting to create like your own world through your music and with your figurines and everything else that you're doing?
It was multiple things. I mean, we've talked a lot about it like at length. Like I'm a massive Marvel nerd. Like I love the world building of comics, and whether it's classic, vintage, or nowadays the MCU has had its fumbles the last couple of years, but I think that's
coming back maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I really think a lot of this stuff, whether it was, I have such a deep-rooted love for Star Wars and Marvel and this stuff that like everyone's kind of looking at now and like, oh, it played out, I'm not excited. Like, it's not the fault of the core of these brands. It's the fault of CEOs during COVID being like, we got to pump out as much as possible to get people to subscribe to our streaming site because no one's going to be going to the movie theater, so we got to get everyone. So they just started to be like, we need quantity. Even Kevin Feige, who's like an executive producer of Marvel, is like, I was not able to juggle everything they were throwing at us. Like, I literally could not be in rooms to quality check what was going on. And it sucks that the general public is just like, oh, they fell off. It just sucks now. It's just like, no, like the top-down CEOs were messing with the whole feng shui of everyone's stuff. Like, they just wanted to pump content out and get people subscribed and build up their numbers. And it's a shame. I understand it at the time. It was like this gold rush of like, massive industries where they're like, how do we pivot when the world's shutting down? And I get it. But like, I feel like we're finally getting to a point where I was talking to my buddy Codebreak the other day, and I was like, we were talking about Spider-Man Noir, that trailer, and Nicolas Cage being allowed to fully be Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're getting, Frank Zappa talked about this a long time ago, where the old record execs were ignorant. They'd basically, like, someone would come in and they'd be like, we don't know, we'll sign him. We have no idea what works. We're just throwing things at the wall. We don't care. So you'd get very experimental. Pink Floyd, all this stuff was going on, where they allowed these interesting artists to like do their thing and have control and put it out and see if the public truly liked it. Nowadays, we have a lot of these executives who sit there and they're like, I know what's good. And don't take this as me. This is Frank Zappa saying this way long ago, and it still applies today. But he's like, yeah, it's all these younger people are just like, I know what's good, I know what works, and everyone's so gung ho, super sure of their taste and stuff that like we're not even allowed to have experimental work like at a massive level even more. Even like Vince Vaughn talks about like how we don't have these big comedies anymore. Like
it's too dangerous.
Yeah, you want to put massive money into it and you want a massive return. That's you can't do these small like mid-tier comedies anymore, like 40-Year-Old Virgin or stuff like that. Like stuff that we grew up on is like super bad, like core, like really culturally, like it's not flashy. It's just these storytellers were allowed to do their thing. And like, sorry, we're on a tangent.
No, you're fine.
But to get back to like the world building, yes, all that stuff like greatly, it inspired me a lot growing up. And I think Logic's Incredible True Story was a big thing for me. I came up massive Logic fan. Like Young Sinatra tapes were like my thing. I was like, this is a second coming, golden age hip hop. Like, and he's a very talented rapper. Like he really, at the time was like this return of, I'm going to go down this rabbit hole, but I'm a massive Wu-Tang fan. Like I go way back into Jurassic 5, all that stuff. And so that era for me of him was like, this is the guy. And it was so admirable too, to just, as I was figuring out how to get my footing as like an independent musician, I was kind of able to watch him and a bunch of other people kind of navigate things. And that was super helpful. I think it was more powerful than maybe I realized at the time, like to have these people to look to and be like, look at their like blueprint that they were operating on and be like, okay, I can do this. Like there's ways that I can go about this and be able to be independent and make this happen and make it work. And whether it was Chance dropping like free mixtapes or Logic's approach with the world building, all that stuff, I think very much fed. I'm very into like X Games and extreme sports, and I grew up in the mountains, and like that's my whole thing. And so much of that sport in general is like the guy before you proving it's possible, and then everyone levels up. It's like someone throws down, the first 18 or something, and everyone's in the comp going, maybe I could do it 18. And then they throw 18. And it's like, I feel like it was similar with the people I was inspired by coming up. Like I'm very thankful for all the people I got to watch. And, I'm still on my journey. I still have a lot to accomplish, a lot to get to. And mine has been definitely a roller coaster over the years. But I'm very thankful that I had those people to look to and be like inspired by and see their blueprint. And maybe some things I didn't have to do the trial by fire because I was able to look at it and be like, all right, I'm not going to do that, or I'm going to do this. But yeah, that's kind of a lot of tangents off the world building. But
growing up, or I guess not even growing up, but just like evolving your music journey, is there a part when you've been a part of so many different changes, like the Logic era, like you've been around for so many things that people tried and did, but maybe some of those things don't work the same way now? Is that frustrating at times where, you start doing something, it starts picking up speed, and then things change on social media or streaming, and then things change again?
Yes, I think it's always hard too because the goalposts are always changing. Like I remember, I've always been a massive fan of On Cue. Like he's become a friend over the years. Like he's another person who really, his way of expressing himself and, I guess encapsulating emotion in the way that he just like actually like vocally projects. That was very, I don't think I'd sound the way I do without On Cue's like influence way back when. But wait, what was your original? Because I was coming back to
just how like you've adjusted on your music journey with everything changing.
We're talking about that. I remember back when On Cue had like 10,000 Facebook followers, and I was like, damn, like when I get 10,000, I'm gonna be popping. I'm gonna be on top of the world. And I'm at like 23,000, and like by the time it became a thing, it wasn't even really. It didn't even matter anymore. Like it's just that those goalposts are always going to change, and also it's just like I tell people this with Spotify, like streaming. There's a lot of people who don't think it'll survive, and I've looked at a lot of the video side. Like Netflix is one of the few ones who are actually in the green. Like it's a very hard thing to make money on, and Spotify is just starting to actually have it be in the green. But these things aren't always going to be around forever. Like even the MySpace days where it's like, who's going to flex like how big you were on MySpace nowadays? Like no one cares. It doesn't matter. But that's the thing. The goalposts always change. And we can have these little, maybe I tell my grandkids that like, oh, I had this many monthly listeners on Spotify. And they're like, I don't know what Spotify is, grandpa. It means nothing to me. Like it is these things where like the music is always forever. The music will always remain. But I think everyone gets very attached to these platforms. And I've been around long enough and been dropping music long enough to know that like, regardless of how stable and like permanent these things look, like it's always changing and it's always going to change. And the way that, even what Mike and Group is doing, where, direct to fan is, a way to combat kind of the pitfalls that streaming has kind of created. And no approach has ever been perfect. And we keep like fine tuning and finding different ways, but the music will always matter. It's always going to shift. And like you were saying, like I was around DatPiff era. I was around SoundCloud era. I was around YouTube music channel era. Like there's been, and now it's TikTok era, etc. It's always going to change, and the way that it's consumed and the way that it disperses is going to change. But the one thing I love is that at the core of it, it is just the music, and that's what I love more than anything about it.
Yeah, talking about the music, there's a song that we actually never talked about in our other interview, which is crazy because it was actually the first song I found you from when I used to work at Target, and when I worked at Target, my car broke down. I had to walk to work every day for this like whole summer. And it was like, I think I was walking like 30 miles a day between like walking to work and back. And then at the end of the summer, I realized I could have just been taking the bus, but that's not me. But during that time, I listened to a lot of like new music, and that's when I found your song Scars.
Okay, yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about what went into creating that song and what that song meant to you throughout your artist journey.
There's many ones that almost are born from a lot of my music is about my own life, or people I've come in contact with, or different perspectives on that. With Scars, and I've done this a couple of times, it's a hypothetical. Basically, I was working at a hotel at the time back home in Wyoming, Surf, Wyoming, and I was a bellboy, so I was in charge of opening the door for people, bringing people stuff to their room, like anytime people needed stuff. I also was in charge of shuttling people to the airport and back, and then also to town and back. Like if they wanted to go to dinner, I'd drop them off, I'd pick them up. But anyway, this one day I was running the shuttle, and this couple gets in with this little girl, and they're just like obnoxiously drunk, like obnoxious. Like you guys are not being parents. Like what are you doing? You have a small child in your freaking car. It's like this little girl, and they're like cursing about like what happened at the bar and this and that and all this stuff. And like I'm a bellman, and also I'm trying to get a tip. I know my place in that job, and I just shut up and I do my job. But I was thinking about it the whole time. I was like, this is just so disgusting that like this little girl is like being dragged around by these like her parents who are like drinking as if they're 17 and just acting a freaking fool. And Scars was born of that. It was just basically possibly this poor girl's future that I kind of dreamed up in this song and laid out. And I came up with it all. That was the one thing with like that type of job, is I had a lot of time to think, like whether I was bringing people to the airport or, driving back without passengers or whatever. I could rap and like throw my instrumentals on the band. And yeah, that was one of the other good things about music, I think, at the time too, was always I had these summer jobs, or at that time I think I was doing no, that was like full-time job at that time. But anyway, yeah, these service industry jobs, because I grew up in Jackson, Wyoming, which is very touristy, and whether it was when I was working at a restaurant or working as a bellman, I had a lot of time to think, whether it's like, you're rolling up the silverware, the cutlery, and that's when I would conceptualize a lot of stuff, at least back then. Yeah.
You mentioned living in Wyoming when you made that song. And throughout your career, you've lived in multiple different places, including like Florida, obviously Nashville. Do you feel like you create different music based on where you're at, or what inspires the genre you dive into?
It's definitely, yeah. I'm very weather affects me heavily, and then also location affects me heavily. Even here, like Nashville's the longest I've been somewhere since I was 17. Longest I've stayed somewhere since I was 17. And even here, like I've loved it. I've really, enjoyed it. I got here in 2020, going on 6 years. So I've loved it. I get antsy. I do. I like even, I'll look at, where should I eat tonight? I've eaten at all these places. God damn it.
I want something new. I want to try something new.
I definitely like my good friend Mike. He always would say that I'm a man with no flag. Like I'm very much. I don't know. I Irish goodbye. I'm very. People will like sometimes not see me for weeks on end. Like it's. I just kind of am very cool doing my own thing, but with that, it's like my one-to-one experience. Like I feel like a lot of people have a lot of things in their life to create variables like daily, but like especially for me, I've been doing my job for like a decade and a half, and I love it. I always, even what we've talked about with my different sides of music and things that I get into, it keeps me on my toes and it keeps me excited. But I think environment is huge to me just because a lot of my life is my own experience. And it's like, well, if you need to change, you need to change the whole. It's not like, I'm working in an office where like, oh, we got 2 new people this week. That's exciting.
That's exciting. I'm going to meet them and see who they are.
Exactly. It's like, so I feel like location has always been very big to me because it's like a very meaningful shift that I can make on my own, and also the world's big, and my parents had me. I mean, I moved at a very young age, so like at a very early age, I was forced to be taught that like, hey, people are people everywhere.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of people who grew up in the one place that they've been their whole life, and they're like, I don't know, the world's big.
It's big.
It's a big world. But like the more I've gone places, and like I'm very blessed to have toured as many times as I have and seen as many different corners of the world. People are people everywhere. Like you can connect to people anywhere. Like we're all just humans trying to find our way, and there may be different cultural things and whatever, but overall, we're all just people, and we're all just trying to find our way. And I like experiencing that, and I like to see whether that's like culinary wise or environment wise. I enjoy. Like I think you can visit somewhere on vacation, but like you don't really know a place until you like live there and really like put down some roots. And that's why I'm very thankful. I know what it's like to live in the PNW. I know what it's like to live in New Jersey. I know what it's like to live in Wyoming, Arizona, Florida for a second, and I hated it. I don't want to go back.
Never again.
But in Nashville as well. Yeah, I don't know. It's a great big world, and I enjoy it. And it definitely, I'd say it inspires me we can go into a tangent of this. The reason I've moved around in the way I have is I feel like a lot of people, like artists or whatever, everyone has their vices that have shot them in the foot to a certain degree. Mine has been saying yes to love in the wrong places way too many times. So a lot of times it's just like, I thought about it recently, and I was like, it was almost a vice of like, I really was so attached to this like white picket fence ending with like a lot of people who are incapable of white picket fencing, I think. But like, that's why I got to Arizona, because a girl wanted to move to Arizona who I was with at the time in Seattle. I got to Florida because a girl wanted to go, like I don't know. I am a lover. I'm not a fighter. For a long time was just a yes man to love, where I think it's a great thing. And it's a beautiful thing to like throw your heart out there and take those chances. But at what cost all these years later? Yeah, it adds up of like, I could have spent one place with one person building a home together and really putting down roots. And I've just kind of struck out saying yes to the wrong things over and over. But you got to hope that saying yes to the wrong things over and over again eventually teaches you what to say to the right thing. And I feel like that's the journey I'm on currently. But for anyone who's like, why has this man jumped around the world? Women.
Do you feel like it's situations where like the conditions or like the relationship changed after you moved, or did it feel like it was like maybe you were blinded by who this person was before? Or
I think it's a lot of things. I have a type, and it's definitely something where I feel useful when like people can lean on me heavily.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great for a while. And then all the weight starts to slowly, it's like, oh, I can lean this much. I can act out this much. And let me see how much I can keep pushing it. And it's just like, I think I don't think that's all these people. I think it's just, I've attracted a type where it's just like, it's like, oh, I finally have this. How long can I have this? What can I do to still have this? Like, it's almost a testing, like,
how much can I push the boundaries?
Yes. And I think that's for me, that's partly me. I'm definitely, like I said, like I'm a lover. I think there were times in my past where I saw red flags like right up in my face and I was like,
we'll see where this goes.
Yeah. And also you get that false confidence of like, I've had this type of experience with similar, I can do it this time.
I can do it this time.
I'll figure it out.
I've grown. It'll be different now.
It is literally that meme where it's like, I'm ready for another one.
I'm ready for another one.
And you never are. You never are. It's great. It sounds great for, the first year, whenever the honeymoon phase ends. And then I think also what sucks too is, unfortunately for me, I think with who I am and what I've done, I think many times I'm seen as a novelty. And that's fun for like a year and a half to be like, oh, he's a cool artist. Like,
yeah.
And then like I've written some very emotional, like real songs, like stuff that really like I went through and reported back. And I've had these very human moments with people who saw me as just like this novelty and they can't handle it. It's like, oh, crack in the armor. He's not the freaking, yeah, I'm a human, dude. Where do you think those songs came from?
Yeah.
Like, that's the craziest thing for me to hear that I've had these wild levels of vulnerability and honesty on these records. And then I have like a real moment of like weakness as a human. And you're like, what did you expect from the man who wrote those songs? Yeah. What did you want? You thought I was going to be the no emotions freaking
nonchalant
macho man? No, I can have my macho man moments, but also part of my job relies on my ability to like actually feel my experiences. And you're going to tell me that's like, you just don't get. Like, that's, yeah. That I could go off on that all day, but.
Do you feel like there's a part of that too that's hard where like you can't, as an artist, like you can't say like, oh, this didn't happen or did happen. Like you already put the music out. So like there's like a part of you that, especially like in the dating world, like people will, when you first meet someone, you'll like try to look at their like history on like social media and stuff like that. But you've actually had like albums and albums of work. So like someone could just be like, oh, what has he been through in the last decade and a half? That's
been a massive problem. That's
awkward, or
I wouldn't even say awkward. I'd say I literally have attracted people who saw that as a blueprint of how to abuse me. Yeah. Like literally saw my history and was like, oh, this has happened. I can pull this lever right here. I can set off his anxiety in this way, da-da-da. Like, I don't want to go into it all. I'm not the type of guy to like really air out the people who have done me wrong will receive their karma. I'm quite certain if they haven't already. But I've had I do feel like it's the universe trying to teach me the same lesson over and over again, because every time it's gotten worse. Every time it's gotten to a whole new level of malicious. And I'm like, oh, I was like supposed to learn this lesson like 2 people ago. Yeah. And I still haven't. And that's why this is so intensely. And I'm not going to put everything on people. People are going to act the way they act. That was their own decisions. I'm not saying that like, it was some power outside themselves that caused it. But it's like, I do feel the universe has come to me on multiple occasions and been like, do you get it yet? Like, do you understand? Like, do you understand that you have to value yourself enough to not like put up with this and then wonder why it ends up destroying you? Like, it's like when you see the red flags, walk away. When I think that was a big problem for me for a long time, was just like, and the more you do it, the more you're trying to prove that your prior self wasn't crazy for attempting, like, say, so it's like similar personality type. It's like I was saying, like another round, like I'm ready for another one. And I think the hard thing with that, there's a lot of hard things with that, but I guess the hardest part, I don't want to get too into it because like it's not my place to like fully air it out. But trying to like say this in the best way possible. Bring me back to where I just was back, because I'm trying to.
You're talking about how like you have the next one that teaches you like the same lesson you felt like you were going to learn before.
Yeah, I do think that every time like we go against that friction, like the universe is just pushing back more, and I do believe in that like equal. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction, and I believe that on a physics level. I believe that in love. I believe that in life, and yeah, there was just over. Every time I was like, oh, I could, just going to the divorce party, having a slice of the divorce cake. Like, this person is just barely out of divorce. What are you doing?
What are you doing?
What are you doing? And like, I can look back now. It's just things like that. Like, you look back and you're like, but at the time it's like, oh, I can make this work. And I'll prove that I wasn't crazy for trying to make it work with the other person, because I'll finally make it work. That's what I was trying to get to. I'll finally make it work here and everything will be appeased. And I think that's even like from a childhood level of like, if I can just appease this person, finally I would show I wasn't crazy to hope that they would treat me like a human, like, and that's not something you can just like force into people. It doesn't. You can lead a horse to water, but like it's up to people if they want to change. Like you can walk people to anything. You can talk. This was another thing. Let me talk about this, because this goes back to the music. For a long time, and this is something my manager and I, Dylan, who's one of my best friends, we talk about a bunch. I've been in this era of like learning how to run off of, I call it green energy, instead of, I feel like I've been betrayed and let down by so many people in my life that every time that happened, it was just a new chip on my shoulder to just like ego out and be like, oh, I'm a show them. I'm going to, and there was this thing there where I think a lot of those songs came from like, if I could just say this correctly, they could finally feel how they made me feel. They could finally, but that's the thing. People can listen all day. It doesn't matter what you're saying. Do they hear you?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how well you can articulate yourself. It does not matter. And I think that was a big like for me, where it was like, some of these songs you've written for these people, they do not care. They never will care. They will never understand. They don't get it. They literally showed you that they lack the capacity. Well, what are you doing? Like losing your mind, trying to just put the right word. It doesn't matter. They don't understand it in any words. They don't. And so that's where I feel like for the last year, I've really been trying to learn, and you'll hear it still. I'm mad. I have my betrayal. I have my wounds. I have all that, and you'll hear it in the songs. But I'm really trying to get to a point with myself where I'm truly running off of green energy, and it's not off of ego, and it's not off of, how dare you watch me? Like that's great when I was 17 and like delusionally needed all the muster I could get to make this stuff happen. But now, full-grown adult with a following and like who can really talk to people and really make a change and really affect people and like really help guide people in the way that I would hope to be guided. And like what it takes first is me guiding myself there, and then being able to turn around and be like, all right, this is the way. But that's what one of the hardest things that I've had to, because I did look at my history and was like, damn, I've operated with such just a chip on my shoulder and anger and revenge, and it's cool. It's awesome to like stun on people with some of the shit I've done. But at the end of the day, it's like, that's not sustainable. Like I can't be pissed off at 50. Like I just have to enjoy and like actually come from just creation and really speaking for me, not for how it will be, like I was talking about, received, because it's not up to me how it's received. It's about, do I feel good about what's coming out of me and what I'm giving to other people, and am I leading people in a way that I think this is a whole nother tangent, but I believe music is very powerful. I believe that even words are very powerful. I believe that words are spells which you put out into the universe comes back to you. And especially with music, I think a lot of people, unfortunately, don't realize how dangerous it can be. I think you're planting ideas in people's minds. Like you are surrounding someone with a feeling or a vibe, and you're allowing their whole entire life and their day to like be driven by that energy. And I think people forget that like this stuff that people are pumping, they're literally, it's like a drug. They're pumping it into their brain. And it's like, I feel like so many people are very reckless with that. And so that's really, I think for last year, I've really tried to, like I was saying, like find my way there and then be able to turn around and be like, this is the way. And I do still feel like I have my best music ever to write. I feel like my life over the last 5 years has never given me more to write about and think about and evolve through. And the hardest part about the last 5 years is sitting down and saying that and saying it all and having it run off of that green energy. That's what I want to get to. And I want to be able to sit down and report it back in the mature way that I know I can and I know I should, and the responsible way to lead the people who follow me, So that's what I've been trying to figure out. That's a long...
No, yeah. What are some ways that you found to, I guess, kind of get in that green energy mode and feel like you're coming at it from a different angle versus how you were before?
I think I'm attempting to be, I guess, more about like my inner experience as opposed to like outwardly what happened, what was this. It's like it's more about, I think I'm trying to figure out how to walk people while I'm walking through my own process of like, even what I was talking about there, it's like, yes, people have acted in incredibly shady and wild, weird ways to me and an intimate level and in my personal life. But at the same time, it's my fault for allowing that in my life and allowing that to perpetuate in my life, for seeing the red flags and going, nah, whatever. That's me not being a friend to me.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing. I think and I tell people this for last year, like I've never been better with me. Like it's nothing to do with any accomplishment or numbers or BS. Like me and me get along so well now. Like I don't beat myself up for things. And I think it's because I do stand up for myself now. If I feel a way or like there's an energy or something, like I do. And then there's other things where I just let it go. I think there's other things where I used to just hold it and be like, and then maybe I've just had so many things to hold, I had to drop some. But it's like, it's just you can't walk around like that forever. It's not good. It's and I do look at it like in the mirror of myself of being like, yeah, dude, it sucks. People treated you terribly. And but also, yeah, you allowed that in your life. I've had opportunities to, at the same time where I made a choice to go to the toxic route, I had a sweet, new, different evolution I could have taken. I didn't take it. I took, this reminds me of what's
this was good for a minute.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's have this again. But I think that also shows from an accountability standpoint, like I think a lot of people go through this, especially with relationships, where you try not to look too much about what the other person did wrong and you try to look at your piece of it. And you're like, oh, I feel like I can handle my piece of it now. So if I bring forth this version of myself where I fix these pieces, it'll all be okay because I was the one that messed it up, not the other person. And not to say that you didn't play a role in it, but when you think that you fixing your stuff, going in the same situation is going to make a difference, it might make a difference for a bit, but eventually, like, there's still going to be issues down the road.
You got to find it right. It's something for me where I knew, like, I've been decidedly single for like 2 years, and this is like the longest I've been single. My buddy Trent, like when I came out of my last relationship, he was like, dude, I haven't seen you single for like more than 6 minutes in the entire time I've known you. And I was like, you're right. It's like, and it's just kind of like the saying the yes thing. It's not so much, I've never really had like this whole complex of like, oh, I had being alone. And, like I've always done very well. Like I've lived alone many times throughout my life. And it's not that. I do like having a companion. Like I do think having a best friend at the end of the day is the best thing in the freaking world. Mm-hmm. Like someone who share, those real moments throughout the day or just like reflect on it. It's a beautiful thing. And I think so many times I think it was also, I've very much allowed myself to be pursued as opposed to doing the pursuing. And I think what that tends to attract is predators.
Yeah.
So you're prey. If you wait around to get gobbled up, you're getting gobbled up by a predator.
Yeah. Good chance.
So I think moving forward, it's, it's something organically or whatever. I think it's something where like, I gotta make the choice, make that intro and actually look at like, is this, I was telling someone this the other day. I think I used to operate on a level of like walking into a room and being like, oh, these people like me. Do these people like me? And I think nowadays I walk into a room and I'm like, do I like these people? Like that's really like, and it's the same thing with like a job interview where everyone's always so tripping over like, I hope they liked me. I hope that. Do you like the person who's going to be your future boss?
Yeah.
Are they cool?
Because that matters.
You're going to be around them all the time.
Yeah.
Like, so that was a shift as well for me, I think.
And it's a lot easier to do stuff that you don't necessarily want to do when you like the person telling you to do it versus
100%.
So since we last talked, not to completely pivot, but you had a big moment in your life happen. A song that hit 100 million streams on YouTube. I don't even know if you call it streams on YouTube, but we'll sidetrack that. Views, streams, whatever. You finally got to release it on Spotify. What was that moment like for you? And what has it been like since then?
It was a lot of finessing and trying to figure out. There were many times, because I released the original remix of Lost Boy called Neverland, my version of Ruth B's song, like 2015, yeah. So 2015, that was like a whole thing. Took forever. There's so many people I talked to, and so many people promised me the world. Oh, we can get it out. Come distribute with us. Da, da, da. No one could do a damn thing. Who knows why? Anyway, years later, here's the big thing that happened. For those who don't know, I'll go over it really quick. So basically, back in the day, there was this thing called Vine. If you've been around, and there's this girl, Ruth B, who was kind of blowing up on Vine with this 6-second clip of her song Lost Boy. And I had found this, and I was just like blown away. I was instantly intrigued. So there was a producer from Sweden. His name was Gustav Blue Lake. He had been sending me a bunch of beats. He was just a fan and would just send me beats. And nothing was hitting. And I was just kind of like, nothing. Keep sending beats. Da, da, da. But I had noticed that like he had this particular style that I was like intrigued by. So with this in mind, Ruth B eventually announced that she was going to release it independently as a single. And I was like, all right, as soon as she drops this as a single, we're going to rip it, flip it, put it out. So it comes out. I send it to Gustav. He gets it back to me in like days. And I think I wrote my Neverland verses in like an hour or half an hour, something like. It was one of those where it just like came out, where it was just like, oh, I've been thinking about this. I know conceptually how I want to do it. And we put it out within like a week and a half of her releasing hers. She actually supported mine, like this whole thing. And at the time, I didn't know this, but I should have done this. I should have had her sign a paper, get her in on splits, made sure we were all good to go. But I didn't know. I had nothing. I had the smallest amount of motion at the time. I was nobody. I didn't have any lawyers. I had nobody in my ear to tell me what the hell to do. So anyway, years go by. We start putting more stuff on Spotify, and we start to, I guess, we attempted to reach out to them like multiple times, so many times, and then just nothing. And this thing was like hitting like 100 million views on YouTube, 30 million on other YouTubes. It's probably got like 500 million overall throughout all of them. But anyway, we're just trying to contact the right people. Like I said, all these throughout the years, all these different distribution deals were like, we can help you. Just sign with us. Never happened. But anyway, that keeps going on. Eventually, we make a online petition where, like, I don't know, we got like 10,000 signers. Because I would basically have it so that I think what I did for a certain amount of time was I had it on SoundCloud, and then I would have a free download. But to get the free download, you had to sign the petition
to be like, let us release this.
Yeah. So I think that's what I was doing. So we eventually got it to 10K. And then one day, I think I'm doing a merch drop. I'm living in Arizona at the time, and I'm dropping merch off at the post office. And it's like, I forget what it came up, but I think it came up as a protected number. I forget. But basically, I get this call, and I answer the call. It's the president of Colombia. And I was like, what the fuck? Dude? Like, so random. And it's the president of like Columbia Records. And he's like, hey, we've seen your emails and your petition. Basically says to me, we love what it's done. We don't want to take it any further. And I didn't argue with the guy. I was just kind of flabbergasted that like this guy just called me out the blue, told me to
How did you get your number? Like
basically told me to F off. I gave their artist like 130 million streams. Normally you'd think a label would be like, yeah, come in, even if they were going to do some predatory stuff to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was weird. But anyway, they're like, yeah, we don't want to take it any further. Meanwhile, I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's like, take it any further. It's already done like 200 million at the time views on its own. Like,
yeah.
What are you talking about?
At a time when that wasn't like what it is now. Like it was way bigger back then when it was like so much harder to get those numbers.
Oh yeah. And that's why I was like, just kind of flabbergasted. I was like, number one, you guys don't want to make a deal to at least make like, we were open to us getting like 30% of the record. Like we really were just like 25% of the record. It was just like, let's just put it out. I was so gung-ho just for the fans, for people who were just like, why is this not on Spotify? Duh. So anyway, it was a whole thing for a long time. Basically, we could have done this earlier and we just didn't. Because I was still holding out that we may be able to make something happen, but it doesn't matter. So eventually we end up being like, all right, we're going to do a cover. And we'll basically be able to do it under a cover license through DistroKid. And we had Chill Nation helping us for a bit. Awesome people. They were super. I actually think it was technically Trap Nation who was helping us. But they wanted to help us do, like, they basically were the ones who planted the idea around that time in my head to attempt a new version. Because they were like, hey, we'd love to, like, find someone to do it. And, like, they were reaching out to, like, massive, like, EDM singers. And they got a couple back. And, like, the voices just weren't right to me. I was just, Ruth B has this very warm, like, vocal to her. And they were sending me very talented singers, but kind of the more, like, Ellie Goulding, like, and I was like, that's cool. It's a cool take, but I just don't think, number one, it just
doesn't hit the same.
Yeah, it doesn't hit the same. And also it'll confuse people of like, what is this version? So I was like, all right, what we're going to do is there's this girl, Melissa Jo, who she had a song she was on a song of mine in 2015, 14. We Are the Artist, I think. It was called Lois Lane. And she's from my town, from Wyoming, and super talented, super fire, incredible vocals, incredible just musician in general. And I was like, why don't we give it to Melissa? So we send it to her. She gets it back to me in a couple of days. I'm like, this is perfect. This is because she's able to bring that warmth and like that, just like the vibrato I felt I like needed. Like I didn't need like the big EDM powerhouse. Like it just needed that warmth. Like Ruth B's voice just kind of feels like I don't know, a warm fire on like a cold day type thing. And Melissa has that as well. And she killed it. And we ended up putting out our own version and yeah, finally have our own version on Neverland. I know some people have like the OG. The cool thing about the new one though is that we can actually perform it live because it's not Chipmunk Ruth B vocals. Like it's really Melissa's real-time vocals. And also she's incredibly talented. And I always love when I get the chance to like put on, I'm from a small town, Wyoming. I'm from Jackson, so technically big touristy. But like technically we're like a town of like 6,000 people. And like, you know, growing up, you'd go in the grocery store and know a bunch of people. Like that's the type of small town I'm from. Yeah. So any chance I can get to kind of put on someone like that, I'm going to take it. It was awesome to, you know, bring Melissa with me on that and have it out and give everyone a legitimate version of a song that everyone's asked for so long.
Yeah, it's super awesome that it was able to happen because, like you said, I mean, it was over 10 years or around 10 years for it to come out. So.
Well, I think what was happening too was Columbia didn't want to talk to me at all because they were collecting all of the mechanical royalties.
Oh.
So I think their thought was like, if we start talking to you at all, we're going to have to give you at least a piece of this and they'll be, you know, so I think they were like, we've made a bunch of money. Let's keep it at that.
Yeah.
Piss off.
The more like, we made what we wanted out of this. Now we could talk.
Because Swaggy told me that, and then Chill also told me that. They were like, yeah, they've been collecting all of the monetization.
Stupid game.
Oh, it's crazy. But you live and you learn. I learned that if I'm going to sample someone who is super into it, I should get it in writing that they're down.
Yeah, right. But I think that's the saddest part about it because there are so many situations like that where like it is just an organic thing on the internet. But you don't usually have that like yes and support from the artist. Like that's like kind of a rare thing for that to happen too. And then,
well, even nowadays, it was a massive thing that I guess Diddy was doing because what Diddy would do, and a bunch of record labels were doing this at the time, was there'd be an artist song going viral, and then they will have had leased the beat. Like it's an artist who doesn't have much money, but like they lease the beat. And what that means for people who don't know, you basically own it to a degree. Like it's not 100% yours. It's not exclusive. Other people can lease it as well, and you have it. They normally do like a clause of like, if this song, you are covered until this song hits 100,000 streams, something like that. It's a license, but like multiple people can have that same beat. But what would happen back in the day, and I believe this still happens to a degree, it's very scummy, but a lot of these record labels would see, a popping off song, go ID the song, be like, oh, no one's bought the beat yet. No one's bought the exclusive yet. Label swoops in, buys the exclusive beat, goes back to the artist, goes, hey, if you want to really own this song, you got to come with us. Dude, so scummy. And it happens. It has continued to happen. So stuff like that, between stuff like that and sampling artists, yeah, just get your ducks in a row before you take the plunge.
And I feel like I feel like there's so many stories that artists have of learning experiences like that. Maybe not that exact same where you hit like a crazy 100 million streams and all that stuff, but there is so much about this industry that until you're like fully deep invested in it, you don't know. And many people like go to work every day thinking that when they turn on country radio, that artist wrote that song. I didn't even know till I moved out here that like 99.9% of country
Especially
music
in country
is written by 25 people and put out. It's like the simplest songs that are written by the most people.
I think it's intentionally made complex. I think it's the fact we have, there's 200% of a record and 100% goes to, like, it's so stupid. I think so that, like, what is it? I believe it's BMI. Like if you don't collect those royalties within a certain amount of time, they're gone. So like if you don't, there's some things where like your royalties will always accrue and you can go back and find them too. But I think it's BMI. I think it's your regular PROs where, yeah, if you don't touch it for a long enough time, they just take it. They're just like, oh, ours. Just gobble it.
Just gobble it up.
It's like, oh, no one claimed it in time. That's ours.
That's ours.
We'll it's just like it. So many people don't know. Like I have like 3 different things that I claim with. And it's like some people would think that, oh, the one thing claims everything. It's like, oh, no, you need this for domestic and then you need this for international. And they make it intentionally. I think it's the same thing with law. Like they intentionally make it complex so that people can go to school for a long time to make a lot of money off of translating it. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's all just a game.
It's so stupid.
Also during that time, you had another big thing that you did. You were on the 50 Songs in 50 States, Mike Squires project.
Oh, yeah, Squires.
What was that experience like? What was your relationship like, I guess, before and throughout this process with Mike? And
Mike's the man. Mike has been with me through a lot of eras and a lot of time. We've done a bunch of music videos together. He's come with me when I headlined overseas for the first time, brought Ollie with me. Mike, he did video for most of the tour. I think he left 2 days early because he had something to do. Because Mike's always a busy man. But yeah, like I'm saying, like we've toured around the world together. Like he's the man. Basically, with that, I mean, there's not many of us. There's some Wyoming killers for sure. But shouts out to Ryan Charles, Kraft, Biomecha, Danny LaRue, Louis Metric, Dan Sanford, Otto, Melissa Joe Rudd. Trying to get all the
trying to get all the artists.
All the Wyoming rep. Jelaya, State of Era, Rob Kingwell. Yeah, that's just it's just not a huge community of musicians where we grew up. And where was I going with this, Pat?
About the 50 States
Oh, yeah. But yeah, so basically when Mike basically embarked on this crazy project to make a song with someone from every state in the United States. And he picked me for Wyoming, which I was very honored by. And I know a lot of people kind of did whatever for theirs of, just make a good song. I was like, oh, if we're going to like talk about the homeland, I feel like I should have it at least like be indicative of where I grew up, So I kind of made it about the small town parties, getting busted by cops growing up, and just like those young days of the pressure of, I don't know, there was almost, if you grew up in a small town and you grew up going to parties, there was almost a high of like the pressure of like, we might get busted.
Yeah.
We might get,
Yeah.
like there was almost this like, it's dangerous, you know, like, so I tried to make a song, it's called Young Nights, that kind of encapsulates that feeling. And yeah, it was fun. It was awesome to be part of that. And it's crazy to look just the roster that Mike was able to pull together for that. And he would hit me sometimes and be like, you know anyone in this state, in South Dakota? Or this? I'm like looking at my Instagram. I'm like, just like trying to pinpoint.
Some of those states are really hard because you don't have a lot of options in some states. Like
he found like every song on there bangs though. Like it's not like anything's a throwaway or just like, well, we had to get
someone from this state.
Yeah, like, everyone brought it. Everyone did their thing. It's an incredible. And then just overall, just he did art for each one. And it all fits together and it's all the same stylistic and each art is very intricate and, you know, a lot of Easter eggs for each artist's homeland. It's just very well done. And it's one of those things that's very daunting. I've done big projects that, you know, span years and I know how that feels and to have all these moving pieces and all these different people. And, you know, when you have something that it's not just on you to complete and organize, it's stressful because it's like, is this person getting down their piece? Is this person, you know, do I need to fix this over here? It's a lot to balance. So I'm just proud of Mike for him seeing that all the way through because that's crazy. 50 states, 50 songs in general, 50-song album in general is wild. Yeah. But all the logistics to make it so that it's 50 different people on 50 different songs, you know, it's very admirable.
And I don't know how long it took to put out, but I think it was under 2 years that he did it in. Like, what do you think about that's like not only having to put out a song every other week, basically, but also having to get an artist from each state every other week, get and
organize content around it and make sure people are putting a reel up or shouting it out or putting a story, you know,
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Oh, yeah. It's a juggle.
Around that same time, you embarked on a journey on releasing these EPs featured around the different elements.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of sparked this idea and kind of led to you going down this rabbit hole with your next process after your album?
I've always been very into all different sides of music. And I think a lot of, even if you go back to my old mixtapes, like I was jumping around all different kinds of genres. It may be ADD, it may be, you know, just I find it hard to focus on one particular aspect of music. But for these EPs, I was kind of like, what if I do each EP is represented by one element and each element represents a different like subgenre feeling. So I dropped Air, which is more pop. It's like the balloon.
Yeah.
And then Water, which is more flow oriented, which is, you know, hip hop oriented. And then Fire, which is more pop punk. And then the final one, which I haven't done yet, haven't released and actually haven't finished yet, is Earth. So that'll be more singer-songwriter, more acoustic driven. That's something I've decided. Unlike the other ones, like I really think it'll just come down to me going to a cabin with like a couple musicians and just knocking it out in a weekend. Like I think I know conceptually, I just don't know what it sounds like. But I think it's one of those things where if I just spent, you know, some time, got an environment cooking, I could knock it out. But yeah, it was just kind of a fun way. And then the 4 arts for the EP all fit together, which I've always been into sprawling, interconnected. So that was kind of just fun to do. And I'm excited to kind of do physical EPs for each of the 4 and then be able to frame the 4 together. Yeah, it'll just be fun, just in a little puzzle piece way.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. I think that like something that is really cool about you going down that journey is that there's so many different aspects of your music throughout your journey that you've done really well with creating. And I think a lot of times people are like, oh, like if this song does really well, you have to like stay making this type of music. And I think it's cool that you've been okay with like, yeah, No Hope for the Hopeless did great, but like doesn't mean I'm never going to rap again. Doesn't mean I'm never going to do pop again.
Oh, yeah.
Like still being willing to like adjust and put out different sounding stuff.
I think it's hard. I almost wouldn't recommend it for everybody. It's very counterintuitive to the way that the algorithms and stuff works right now. I've talked to my buddy Dylan about this many times, and he actually has his main Spotify account and like Instagram account for his more soulful, like his main grind, Dylan Reese music. And then he has Ellis exclamation for more hip hop oriented. And I talked to him and I was like, what do I do? What did I just make like 7 different accounts for?
Yeah.
What do I do? And he's like, this is like your thing. Like that's the abstract thing is like, yes, it's counterintuitive to the way that the algorithms and like Spotify hates it. I know it does because it doesn't know what to do with the kid where, we accidentally just, this person really liked this rap song from Abstract, but they're not really a pop punk person, but we just threw it in the algorithm because it's an Abstract song. But that stuff is like, it's way easier to have like someone like Mike, very, he's very creative and it's fresh and it's different every time, but it all very much sonically sits
in its lane.
In the same spot. Like you can't, if you put me on shuffle, it can be jarring. You have no idea what's coming. It can be jarring. Like if I put Mike on shuffle, I can be like, I know what the vibe I'm. I know what's coming. I can be on a boat all day on shuffle, with just Mike's catalog. But for me, I know that there's some stuff that really works well together. There's other stuff that's a completely, because I don't think I've ever created off of just like artist first. I'm project first. I've always been project first. I'm going to brand the hell out of the project. I'm going to make it a whole different, like even with No More Hope, I had the suit. I wasn't wearing a hat. I always wear a hat. For that album, I was like, no, I'm not going to wear a hat. I'm just going to have my long hair and do that. And I packaged it. And it's a pop punk packaged. I look like Rockstrack. Like there is that. And it's what I like to do. All of my albums, Kintsugi has its own custom font. Superhuman has its own custom font. Nothing to do with Kintsugi's font. I love to just like create these little worlds, and I understand that it's hard for some people to understand that, it should just be like the same thing from an artist. But what I want to do is kind of the abstract thing is that my style is not concrete. It's always evolving and changing, and I like to have those evolutions encapsulated. The album's cohesive. I promise you the album's cohesive. Is my whole entire catalog cohesive? No. But each project that each of those songs lives on is cohesive. I promise you. So it's just, I'm a bit counterintuitive to the way that the industry and the algorithms and all that stuff likes to work right now. But like Dylan says, it's part of my thing, and it's going to be what it is, and the platforms will change, and it is what it is. And maybe I'm working uphill today. Maybe tomorrow I'm actually situated better. Who knows? But for me, I've always been very project and chapter based. And I think that's where I really shine. If you want the same thing from me all the time, I'm not your guy. But if you want someone who goes down a rabbit hole and tackles it fully, passionately, and with respect for it every time, that's me. Like I even for like the pop punk stuff, people were like, where does this come from? I'm like, dude, I grew up making my mom drive me a town over to get Good Charlotte's new album, to get Green Day's new album, get Blink-182's album. You've heard pop punk influence in my lyrics from day one, I promise you, because those are the artists who I learned from. Those are the people who are embedded in my brain. And so when everyone was on this resurgence, I was like, okay, I can do this, and I'm going to do it right. And I see a bunch of people doing it wrong. I have to go do it right because I would feel dirty if I didn't. And also, I was just coming out of a relationship at that time where I wasn't sad. I was frustrated and angry. And like I was saying, the chip on the shoulder for No More Hope for the Hopeless, I'm so thankful I wasn't running off of green energy. I'm very thankful for that chapter. That's what it needed. That was so important. But yeah, now I'm trying to change the way I love that these different genres have given me different outlets. And there's some songs where it's like, oh, this would work great for a singer-songwriter song, like concepts. It's like, oh, this would work great as a rap song and really fourth wall breaking, and I can really just talk to the people. And then there's something where it's like a very conceptual, like moody, and I'm like, oh, this could be like a grungy rock song. And it's like, I'd rather see that all as different paints on a thing for me to use, and depending on how I'm feeling and depending on what I want to say, have it at my disposal. And it just takes time to, even with No More Hope for the Hopeless, I physically couldn't have made that album 4 years before that. I just couldn't sing like that. I just couldn't format a song like that. So I think it's also growing to a level where you're able to look back and be like, all right, I can go step back into those shoes again and make them mine because I have the tools now, you know?
Yeah. Is there a part, I think a lot of this stems from like Drake versus J. Cole, where J. Cole is very like introspective and makes you think about a lot of different pieces. And you can listen to a J. Cole song 15 times and like pick up different pieces. And I feel like that's very much so the way that you construct your music.
Thank you.
Even though nowadays there's a lot of people that are like Drake, not to say that he doesn't put work or time into his music, but I feel like it is very like flashy and like you can have it like be in the background and get the gist of what he's saying. And I feel like a lot of people gravitate towards that because as humans, we're lazy. Is there a piece that's like difficult though when you know you put this time and energy into it that you have to deal with the people that are like, oh, I have to think too much to listen to this, or oh, I have to like digest too much to listen to this?
I think the time and place is always like Logic has that quote where he's like, there's a time and place for all music. And I believe that as well. Like there are times where I'm like, I don't want to listen to Tyab Kweli just like, I just want to chill. Yeah. I want to chill and have like, I don't know, some Thug on in the background. But actually, Black has a really good song about this. It's called Thug's Interlude. Mm-hmm. Do you know?
Yeah.
And he's just talking about like lately he's been listening to Young Thug. It's the only thing that helps him from going under. Like it's enough hypnotization, enough escapism that it just like allows you to like not focus on. And I get that. I get that approach. I understand that. I think a lot of people, you know, I wasn't even a fan of the whole like death to mumble rap, all that stuff. I was not like, I'm number one, I'm never going to tell anyone what to do with, unless they're being real ignorant or doing some really weird stuff. It's like, I can just decide not to listen to things. Like some things are not going to be for me. And I maybe that's getting older and more like, I don't know, I'm just of this, these people just bitch about things on the internet. Like, yeah, you could do that, or like everything you could ever like is on the internet.
Yeah, and you can just go find it.
Yeah, because I guarantee it's there. Everything is here. You have decided to come over here and hate on the little things you don't like. What are we doing? But it's just, where was I going with that? Oh, but I do think, I think it's important, and I love that our big three are so different. I do love that Drake is so different than Cole and Kendrick is so different than both of them. Even with like, I loved people here and there with the Drake-Kendrick beef, but it was a very interesting fight because we weren't watching like a wrestling match. We were watching like a heavyweight boxer, Drake, go against like the king of Kung Fu.
Yeah.
These two different styles, very different styles, still sparring. But like, I thought that was so interesting about that. It was like, you weren't getting like two heavyweights. They both weighed in and they're both
ready to go. It's even. Yeah. We have the same level. No.
It's like, he's going to drop kick him. He's going to drop. Like, it was interesting to watch them duke it out just because they have these different styles of like, it was so cool to like see those styles interact. It is different. It was so different. And I love, like I was saying, that there is that amount of variety in music and people operating at high levels with variety. That's great. I think that's great for music. I would hate if everyone was doing the exact same thing and everyone doing the exact same thing was at the exact same height. It's like, what are we doing?
What are we doing?
So it's a beautiful thing. I think that we can have all these different complementary styles all proliferating great, but like in their own way.
No, and I feel like that, like you said, just brought the best out of, maybe not the best, might not be the best way to put it, but I feel like it was like my favorite Drake music to listen to in a long time versus what he's been
because he was challenged.
Yeah.
I think that's what Drake was sitting at. Like, I loved, if you're reading this, it's too late. One of my favorite projects of all time. And like for a while there, it's like, yeah, when you're king enough for long enough, what do you have to look to? Like I've even had moments in my own life where I get a bit complacent and I'm like, well, we've done this, we've done that. And even when I'm talking about the green energy thing, like there's a version of me who would be like, F that, Luke. Like, we got to prove everybody wrong. Everybody sucks. But it's like, where was I going with that?
We're talking about the when you have nothing to look at. You need the.
Oh, yeah. You need sometimes, like, someone has to walk in and be like, you're not the king, and just to like get you to remind yourself why you're the king type thing. And I feel like that's what we got to see Drake tested at like a time where he hadn't been in a long time, which I think was very needed. And that's important. I think that competition is important. I think even the pressure that Cole probably felt coming into this last album, quote unquote, like he wouldn't have that pressure coming into it without all this either. And we wouldn't have gotten that project. So I think it's very healthy.
What was your take, I guess, on the fall off and just his whole rollout and everything that he did with it?
I haven't re-listened to the album as much as I think I should. I really enjoyed it. I like it a lot. I was going through my old CDs the other day and I found Forest Hills Drive and then Born Sinner as well. I still have, just awesome. But I've been a Cole fan since I was listening to Friday Night Lights, like while walking to class in college, or at least the amount of time I did go to class.
Yeah.
But like that far back, like Laramie, Wyoming, walking to and from class in the freaking cold wind out there. I have that like burned into my memory as listening to Friday Night Lights. But I don't think it's his last album. I know what this stuff means to me, and I know how many times I've been like, oh, I want to pivot and maybe I do something else. 2 days later, I have a song idea. Like it's really hard to step away from. So when people make these big sweeping claims about their retirement, and I can't imagine to be in J. Cole's shoes where you have seen the pinnacle of all things, and maybe I would feel differently at that point. But personally, I don't see myself ever, like, for me, music is like what we were talking about earlier about taking experiences. There's many times I don't feel I can move on from something until I've made a song about it. Maybe it's something I've trained in my brain to be like, oh, now we can have closure because the song is done. We can move on. Maybe this is something over 15 years I have trained my brain to do. But personally, there are chapters in my life where I really can't move forward until I allow it to live somewhere else, until it's like either lyrics or the song itself. And then I can be like, okay, this is not fully mine anymore. This lives here. We can move forward. So yeah, I can't imagine to know how it feels to be him, but I do know when I look at it, I see an incredibly big wall that I would have to cross to be like, I'm never making anything again. Like, that's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, I think when you invest so much of yourself into your craft, and it's how you, like you said, you talk about things that happen in your life through your music. Where, or how should I say it? Who outside, let's say you have to remove Abstract the artist from Abstract.
Yep.
Who are you without music?
I think I'm very, gosh, I definitely think other people could tell you more about who I am than I could. But I think I'm just curious in life. Like, I think a lot of what keeps me going is just like seeing what happens in life. Like, I think I've had times where I've been like, not even like on a suicide tip. I've just kind of been like, I've made a lot of this realm. I'd love to know what the next is. Like, not on like a, I've had this conversation with friends and some people get concerned about me and they're like, oh yeah. Like, no, just out of like curiosity, just to be like, what is it? Like, what is this? What has this been? What is the next? I think I'm just excited and curious about the mechanics of life. And I don't know, I think I'm getting more excited just to be here. And like, that's been an evolution in itself and I think that's also just like a zoom out as well. I think for a long time, I was so like zoomed in on what needs to be done and what is next and who I have to be next and what I have to accomplish next. That like for so long, I've said a lot to a lot of people is like, I feel like I'm finally catching up to myself. Like For so long, I was on go. I was either moving or this project or this stuff or that. And for like the last 2 years, I finally like actually caught up to me and like not even like there's a bunch of songs I know I still have to write about what life has been for the last like bit, 100%. But I do think I got to this place, like I was saying, where I'm just good with me, and that was a hard thing to like, because I think I did used to define myself by so much of the fruits of my ambition, of like, and that's even the chip on shoulder as well. It's like, well, what's my worth? Well, we did this yesterday, and I think I'm finally learning the like legitimate, like just innate human worth of like me, and like even I think I used to beat myself up for things in the past, and like, so, like I used to. I don't do this anymore, but because I've never had an engineer in the studio with me, I took on this nasty habit of like almost bullying myself in the studio. Like I'd then mess up a line and be like, "You effing," it's just like yelling at myself, just like, and it was. I think it was just a frustration and also like to keep an energy thing at the time. But still, like we were talking about earlier, like words are spells. And that's like, that's not being kind to me. And that's like not actually, I don't know, it's just not a healthy environment to have with yourself where like you're that just like hard on your productivity and what you get out into the world. And so I think, I don't know, I think as a person, I'm curious and I'm excited, and I love the world in general. I love nature. I love just the simple fact that like I don't know, we get to like experience life in this way. I guess that's been a big thing too, where I think doing this as long as I have, day in and day out, yeah, it's kind of hypnotizing to be like, sometimes I forget that like, hey, I haven't like walked into like a job in like 15 years and like reported to someone. Like that's crazy. That's and so without the music, it is strange. Like because I think so much of my reality is like built around stuff like that. So it is weird to think, you know, also just like as an individual, as we all are individuals, it is kind of a weird thing to be, because we're not what we do. We're not what we like aspire to be 100%. That's an interesting question. I've really taken the longest way of being like, damn, I don't know.
No, that's okay. No, it's a very interesting journey. It is interesting that like
I'm a curious person. I'd say that's like a good.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing though, because I think that like, you know, I work a lot with older individuals that are at like the end of their life, and I've never heard anybody say, "I wish I did less than what I did." You know, everyone is always like, "I wish I did more. I wish I like appreciated things differently, went out and did more or saw more." And I think if you keep like that curiosity about you and really just like within reason, like see what you can see and do what you can do, as long as you maintain your health while you're doing it, I think that's how you get like the most out of life.
Yeah, and I think there's so many people who have like this end goal of like, even like I grew up, not to go on a crazy tangent, but I grew up going to Catholic school, and that's been a big thing that I've seen a lot of like Christian movements going on in the world. And I think everyone's looking for answers. I think that's also a curiosity thing of like, when the world's so topsy-turvy, I think a lot of people have turned to something like that to get solace and kind of feel a bit more solid. For me, I have this song on Superhuman called Interroga Omnia. And in Latin, it means question everything. And it's one of my favorite things. I just, a lot of people will be like, why don't you believe it? I'm like, it's not that I don't believe. It's just that I'm open to all these other possibilities. I'm not going to shut the freaking lid and be like, nope, that's the God.
Yeah.
Like he hasn't come to me himself to say, hey, that's me.
That's me. What's up?
Like, if he really wants me to think that, then maybe he could. But like, I don't know. I just don't think that just because someone was born in the wrong geography means their religion's wrong. Like, that's so stupid to me. And there's like things like that where I'm just like, it's like, what else do we have to but stay curious? Like, even I've had people who, like, I'm very thankful for the way that people see me in their lives. And for whatever reason, I am the type of personality where people feel comfortable just dropping it all at my feet. Like if I start talking to someone or someone of that. And I've had people be on like the cusp of, I don't want this world, all this stuff. I don't want to be around anymore. And my thing is like, we know what's possible here. Like we know what we can do. Like we've seen what people can accomplish here. We've seen we don't know what the next is. Like, you want to, maybe the next realm sucks. Maybe it's just sitting at the DMV, dude. Like you just went to your town on your wrist to sit in the DMV. What are you going to think there?
You're going to be like, dang, I wish I could go back.
And I think that's the thing is like to stay curious. Like even there's times where like I've had a terrible day and I'm like, well, Doomsday is coming out, and I need to know if the Russos are able to freaking land this. Like that, it's like I gotta push on because just little things like that where I'm like, I gotta know what happens in Doomsday at least, and then something else will come up, and you prolong it more and more. It's just find things to be curious and interested in. It could be the smallest things, and just I think a lot of times we are very much ungrateful for the miracle that this is at all, and like. We do forget. I think I even do this too. Like I forget my own free will. Like there's so many times where I'm just like, well, I can't do that. I can't. Why not? Why can't you attempt that? Why can't you try that? No one does that. Why can't you try? And it's just like, I think curiosity is such a important part of it all is because it's like, it keeps you on your toes. It keeps you excited and interested and intrigued. And there's so many different things, even, I've been down a rabbit hole for the last 3 days understanding the dynamics of Iran. Like this stuff, it sucks and it's but it's an opportunity for me to be curious. No, Mm-hmm. So it's like I can look at it and be like, yeah, this fucking. But another thing too is I think we live in very fearful times and a lot of but the way to inoculate fear is just knowledge, and it's just. So I think that's why I've done that more. I think I used to like look at some world stuff that would go on and just be like, I think I had a time where I was just very doomy gloomy about it. And I do get doomy gloomy about it at times, but I found what helps is having knowledge on it to be like understanding the actual dynamics that are going on. And, it's not just random evil happening in the world. It's like, no, these dynamics have been going on for long times between these countries, and these little things push on it in such a way that it erupts in this, these little socioeconomic things that go on. It's curiosity. And it's like, I could just sit there and be like, oh, I ran. Or I could be curious, go watch a bunch of smart people explain to me what's going on and, move forward with less fear because I have more of an understanding of not just blanketing evil, but like more of an understanding of like the dynamics that are actually at play that are leading to this perceived evil in the world, etc.
I think that's so many stuff that you venture out and try to learn, whether it was like even music for the first time, when you learn how to do all that stuff, it's really overwhelming, all the stuff that you don't know when you don't know what you don't know. But as you slowly pick away at the stuff that you don't know, you can start to maybe you never reach the point of knowing everything, but if you're more comfortable and understand different pieces of it, it makes it a lot more easy to digest what's happening.
It makes it less daunting too. Yeah. Like even I've been getting back into my MPC, and I had an MPC Ren for years. This is like a sampler for beat making. And I have my live, and I don't produce as much as I used to. And I would just look at it many times and be like, just daunting. It's like all these buttons and knobs and stuff. And like, I'm not even going to start with this. And like, yeah, if you just start, I've started just watching like series on YouTube of the guy episode by episode unpacking it. And every day I'm like, oh, I understand what, it gets a little bit easier because you're like, all right, I understand the architecture that I'm actually moving around with. But yeah, it's just I think that's the hard thing too, is I noticed this with reading too. I'm big on reading, but my hardest part of reading is opening the first page. My hardest part is just sitting down and getting myself, once I have that page open, the inertia takes over and I want to read and I want to know. The hardest part is sitting down and opening the book. That's the hardest part. Just starting.
If you had to guess, or we're so early into the year, but what are your goals for Abstract for the rest of this year in 2026?
Ooh, I'm going to announce this right now.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So I don't have any tours on the books yet. I've been definitely in creative mode. And like I was saying, even just on a personal creative mode, just like the project being me. But that said, this year marks 10 years since Something to Write Home About, which is technically my debut album, kind of the one that allowed me to go full time and was just a game changer. And I still consider it my origin story kind of wrapped up. But anyway, so this year will be 10 years. So we just locked down a show in Denver at Lost Lake on August 22nd. And it'll be fire. I'm excited. I haven't toured since a year ago with Dylan Owen. So I'm excited to do a show, and even just a one-off for the occasion. We're going to do some special merch and just like 10-year anniversary. I've had the Something to Write Home About CDs out of stock for a while, but I'm going to reprint and do like a 10-year anniversary. So yeah, we'll be in Denver if anyone's out there.
That's super awesome.
Yeah.
Like you get to look at something, because so many people give up on this journey before 10 years. And I think to be able to see it through and be at the point where you're at now,
it's crazy.
A decade and a half later is awesome.
It's crazy. It's wild to look back on. I guess, because I was looking at pictures the other day and I'm like, I'm a child. Like I was like 20, was I 22 when we made that album? I was like, I had like just neck beard. I couldn't connect my beard, dude. So I look like such a dweeb, dude. But it's like, I love all these photos that we have of this incredible time in Sweden together, but I have a neck beard. Like, why?
Why? What was I thinking?
What were we doing? But I did what I could at the time. But yeah, it is something wild. I had I got like a message request on my Instagram yesterday. Some kid was just like, yo, 22. That's the only message.
Is that how old you are? Is it the song you're talking about? What are we doing here?
I sent it to Dylan and I was like, imagine someone just like saw me in the street. And that's hey, 22. But I was like 32. But yes, thank you. That's me. But it's so funny. Social media is hilarious. If you could apply some of what people say on social media
in real life,
you'd be like, bunch of dumb.
That would be honestly great skit content. It's just like treating what you see online as what you actually see. Yeah, that'd be great.
Hey, 22.
Yeah, you've gotten to evolve with all the social media stuff over the last, decade and a half. What's something you would tell young Abstract if you were embarking on your journey now?
I'd say make sure you do all those papers where when you're sampling someone, they sign it. That's a big one. Gosh, there's so much I think I had to learn just by trial or by fire. And that was another thing too, is like growing up where I was growing up, like I had no blueprint. Like I had some people, I remember reaching out to Biomecca and I was like, hey, like I thought it was so cool because they had put their album on iTunes. This is like 2011, I think. And I was like, how'd you guys do that? That's crazy. Wow. And they're like, it hasn't really been worth it. We don't really recommend it. Years later, I'm living off of iTunes. But it was just like, I had no one to teach me like the ropes of like how to go about this. And I kind of just like everything I learned by trial by fire. Like even my first two mixtapes, like I didn't know anything about promo. They didn't go anywhere. Nobody heard those at all. It's like 28 songs. Like there's some people on TikTok who are waiting to release their second song. The first one went viral.
Yeah, and they don't know what to do now. They're like, wait.
And I was like 2 mixtapes in. No one gave a damn. No one was hearing this. But I was making mixtapes. Like, I
put them out.
To put them. But like, they're coming out.
They're coming out. You're going to find them someday.
Someone will find them, we hope. But like, it was just a lot of trial by fire. I think another thing too is like, just because it's familiar does not mean that it's home. That was that's been a huge problem for me. And I really have only like I was saying, like only in the last 2 years have I really, and I'm yet to put it to practice fully, but like I really think I've nipped it in the butt of like, you know, I need people who show up the way I show up, and I need the honesty that I bring back as well. And also, I can't be looked at as novelty. I need someone who sees me as human from the get-go. When I have human moments, you can't be freaking out. Let me be human.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a big. But I do think that like no matter how much pain and strife, you know, if I had that installed in me, I never would have gone to Florida.
Yeah.
Everyone in my life, all of my friends basically told me that was a terrible idea. Like I was the only one who was like.
Let's just see. Let's see.
Well, I know now. Like that's the one thing I'll say with some of these things I've done where like I don't have any like what ifs. Like there's very few what ifs in my life because I've said yes. While recklessly, I have said yes. I've figured out what it was going to be. I know. And so I don't have that regret there. But yeah, there's just so much that I think I needed to do. And even for me, I think I was such a delusional, like growing up, I was friends with everybody. Like I was kind of bullied and kind of the odd one out because like I allowed it. And I was a fun, my buddy Charlie told me this when we were growing up. And I was like, why are people picking up on me, Charlie? Why are people doing this? He's like, because you react. Because you react. And I do react because I think I always came from this like, I care level of things. And I think for a long time growing up, like there was just that level of like a bit of ego, a bit of like, for everyone who bullied me or made fun of me, you know, like I think I was operating off of like, I'll show you for so long. And I think I needed that at times. Like I think enlightened Luke would not have gotten the inertia that he needed at the time. So I think it's important for me to feel all the ways that I felt at those times. Did it come with some pain? For sure. But I think it was important. Like even I talk about this with musician friends all the time, is like that early delusion is so important. That teenage, high school, I'm the best. I'm going to be the best. It's like you really don't have the skills yet to back up any of it, but you need it for the inertia. And like I definitely needed it. And it carried me through a lot of stuff. That's where it's like, yeah, you know, fossil fuel can carry you through a lot of things, but like when it's all burnt off and the atmosphere is dying, you got to learn how to run off of something a little more clean, you know?
Yeah.
Which I'm, as I've said, I'm figuring out for sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on.
Always a pleasure, sir.
Honestly means a lot. Like, I know we already talked about it earlier, but like even thinking back, like when we first did this, like I said, nobody was doing interviews with me when we first did our interview. And it's really awesome that you were at like a very, very busy time in your life too. You had just dropped an album. You were doing a lot of stuff. And the fact that you were like, yeah, I'll hop on and do a virtual interview with this guy, it means a lot to me. And I really appreciate it.
An honor, my friend.
Grateful you were down to come back and do one in person too. So
anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you, y'all.
Ooh.